Hey, John.
Hey, Danny. Man,
Who do we have lined up tonight?
Oh, yeah. So I meant to talk to you about that. I didn't actually line anyone up tonight. We had
What?
We had Sherman. We had Falcon. We've had Bartosz. And yeah, Innes, of course, Boss Baby.
That's easily
himself.
forgettable. Yeah.
And then I didn't line anyone up. So we're going to have to actually try this episode and do our own segments and things.
What the fuck?
Dude, it's okay because we can talk about, the Dark Angels Codex, the Death Guard Codex. I mean, we can even fall back into old crutches like, best, worst characters ever. Like, I think that's a solid plan. Just pander. Solid pandering the whole time. Always pandering. That's kind of ABP, buddy. Always be pandering.
Yeah, I was going to say ABP, baby.
Welcome to Mob Rules. I'm John, joined, of course, by
Danny.
And today we don't have anyone lined up. We decided to take a break. Not that we're going away from the interview format altogether. It's just, man, a lot has happened this month. It has been, or last month even, it's been a jam-packed January. A January of things that happened.
January.
So yeah.
Usually that's just discounts from your mom, John.
That is very fair. She's very generous this time of year, especially with the economic situation with COVID.
Right.
But yeah, so while we had those great conversations with Innes and Colin Sherman and Falcon, or the Penguin, I guess, is what we get to call him now.
That's his new name.
That's his new name, which we'll call him and no one will understand because no one listens to this. We wanted to kind of get back and talk about some major things that have happened in the hobby this past month. There is the...
Hell yeah, fun stuff too.
The giant FAQ came. My main army got a new book and I have to relearn how to play as it is very different now. And then...
Good thing you don't have any events coming up or anything, right?
Fuck, that's right.
Oops.
We'll talk about the event that we have coming up here that I have to learn how to play this army for. And then, that Dark Angels got their book, so we are now officially one Space Marine chapter away from never having to have a Space Marine book released for 6 months.
Just wait till the campaign books come out, John.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, everyone needs their own spell. Oh my God, there is going to be so many Crusade books coming out for Space Marines. That's okay. But yeah, so we're going to have a refresher episode after like literally months of being asked, because I don't think we've done a worse character since COVID like really got bad.
For a long time.
So after literally being asked every week by people, we're returning with that, but we're putting it at the end of the show so you guys have to listen. And no, I don't do show notes that help by telling you timestamps. But towards the end was going to be the best way I can describe it.
Nice try, slackers.
Yeah, nice try. You have to suffer through us to suffer through us. But before we get to that, Danny, it's been 2 weeks. We're recording a day early, but that's okay. There's cool reasons for that.
There is, which we'll go into later.
It's certainly not gas-based. Haha, take that.
Yeah.
What have you been
So
up
if
to?
you guess that, you're wrong. Wrong as shit.
You lost the Mob Rules bingo.
So hobby stuff. John, what have you been up to?
Oh, me? Oh, I got to start?
Yeah, man.
Oh, so, okay. I finally got a day off. My work has changed. So this past 2 weeks has been me living at my job pretty much. But I finally got a day off on Sunday. So I decided to fire up the old 3D printer.
Nice.
To try and print out some flash mowers for my Death Guard. Of course, massive failures all 3 times. And I think it's just I'm entering the wrong settings for the resin. So I just need to go back and take a look. Very excited for it, though. I see like lots of promise and kind of when I get it, I feel it's going to be super good and super quick. I have an Elegoo Mars Pro. And when people, my wife asked why I got the Pro, I'm like, because it said Pro, to be honest with you. But then kind of like reading the reviews after buying it, like the difference is the Pro comes with a metal tank, whereas the regular one comes with a plastic tank, which can break and destroy the very expensive screen. But dude, it's
it's
the coolest thing. So these resin printers, they have like a LCD screen on the top, and the resin vat sits on top of it, and then ultraviolet light kind of blinks from that screen and causes the resin to harden and lift up layer by layer by layer. So it kind of like specifically cures. So for the Fleshmore I was going to print, it's like 1,200 layers.
Holy shit!
So the detail is going to be amazing. I just got to get it dialed in and got to get it figured out. I painted up the new Death Guard poop furnace.
That thing looks dope, dude.
I got that guy finished up. It's amazing. It will never leave my list, even though, man, I could, 75 points of Poxwalkers would be way better.
Did you put it on our Facebook page?
I didn't. No, I will now before this. I also got the Lord of Virulence up to sort of like a tabletop standard. There's still some things I kind of want to do to him.
Cool.
But he's such a great model. Holy cow. Like the dripping plague fist, like the skin cloak thing going around. So I will be running him in my next game just to kind of get some use out of him before I remove him for something optimal.
I'm glad to hear that even his power fist has a cold.
It does. It has boogers running down it. They're yellow boogers now. I put some 3-color minimums onto my Chaos Sorcerer and Terminator armor. I think my new favorite unit in the Death Guard book.
Nice.
We'll talk about that later. But I ordered from GW Prime more Death Shroud, a Chaos Sorcerer kit, the Terminator armor kit. I ordered a Blight drone or a Bloat drone and also a Plague Surgeon about 3 weeks ago. As of recording, my most recent order, which is the Death Shroud and the Chaos Sorcerer and Terminator armor, has shipped. The others have not. So they're on the way.
Aww.
But I was like, man, I'm going to hate to proxy in my next game because I don't like doing that. So when I was looking for my greater bloat drones, my Forge World guys, I actually found the old event exclusive Chaos Sorcerer and Terminator armor. The one that has like the bloodletter coming out of the hand.
Oh yeah, cool. The demon.
Yeah, the demon one. So I threw purple and gold in him and made like the demon fire. So he's good to go. So at least I now like have a sorcerer ready. Legit. Yeah. I continued painting my Blight Lord Terminators, which are kind of my Achilles heel for Death Guard. I've been trying to finish that unit for about 7 months now. And I don't know why I can't do it. Like every time I start, I lose interest really quickly. But I love like the Terminator models. I love the range. I've painted 6 Death Shroud. I'm in the middle of painting 3 more. But I can't finish it. And I don't know why. So I'm like forcing myself to go through that. It's painful. I ordered a bunch of swag. Right now I'm wearing my Las Vegas Nopen hoodie. Super comfortable. Very wonderful thing. I picked up the Objective Markers 2 from 3D6 Wargaming.
Same.
They're helping us some really good chat. Danny, how many sets of 3D6 Wargaming Objective Markers do you have now?
4.
Is it only 4?
I got 2 I got 2 Mob Rolls ones.
Charity Hammer.
I got Charity Hammer, and I've got this one that I just picked up.
I thought you had like way more than that. Man, look at me being a dick.
I'm very stingy. I got a beanie too. I like that. I saw that and I got it.
I didn't
for
get
the
the beanie. And then that's pretty much. It says that's all I've done, but that's been pretty much that's a lot.
It's actually quite a bit, John. Dang.
And I continued listening to Buried Dagger, which is phenomenal so far.
It's really good.
It's really good, and it's kind of like there's so much like obvious foreshadowing, where you're like, Typhon, you dick. Like through I'm about halfway through and all I can every time Typhon opens his mouth, I'm like, you dick, you know what you're doing. Why? And then Mortarion, you idiot. And I'm just it's great because I know what's coming. And I think that's why I'm enjoying it. I know how it's going to end. Everyone knows how the Death Guard become the Death Guard and how Mortarion ascends. And this book is kind of the last real heresy book. And it kind of tells that story. And I'm like, oh. But they keep pulling it away. They translate it to the warp. I'm like, and they came out and and then they try to and it's just, it's super cool. And then there's real subtle references throughout, Mortarion, he always does this thing 7 times. And I'm like, oh, that's a Nurgle thing.
Right.
Or this always happens. I'm like, oh, that's a Nurgle thing. Nothing yet about clock maintenance though. So I think that comes in Mortarion's later years.
I think he actually he took a community college course on that.
Watch repair. But then he remembered it was the 35th millennium and no one has watches anymore. So it's like, I'm gonna bring it back. I'm gonna make it cool. Well, that's quote unquote.
I'm taking it back.
All I've been up to. Oh, I've been making lists in the Warhammer 40k Army Builder. I really enjoy it. I know it's not for everyone. There's a couple things I don't like I can't do the pathogens on the Army Builder yet, or I can't at least find a way to add the things. But for what it is, like the they added copy paste, which was like my only real complaint, because when I'm making like big units, usually I duplicate them and the weapon changing is a little clunky. But the ability, the ability to, like, if I'm making a battalion and I have all my units in there and then I'm like, shit, I can only fit a patrol. The ability to go in and unplace all of those units and just delete the attachment or detachment and add another one in and add everyone back in is so amazing. I mean, I'm sure Battlescribe's going to add it eventually because it is so useful. But like that alone has sold it for me.
It definitely makes it easier to like switch around your army a bit instead of having to delete basically everything and then re-add it all back in.
Or the old Battlescribe standard of it says battalion, but it's actually a patrol, which is
of course,
which is how 9/10 of list mistakes happen when you have like four troop units in that patrol because you just retyped it in. But Danny, you also have had a busy week. Freelancing on the side. Well, what have you been
freelancing?
Up to? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
That's set up for you.
Well, yeah. Speaking of freelancing, I helped with the Nopen this week with Play on Tabletops, one of their games. I was the table boss, which was super fun. Always good to like actually talk and have a good reason to talk to JT. Although you don't need a great reason to talk to him. He's just like one of the coolest guys I've ever met in my life.
Like one of my favorite Vegas memories is just sitting at a bar at 2 a.m. talking to JT and watching Danny very confusedly watch me nerd out at like JT saying things like heal and mark and da-da-da. And I'm like,
yeah, your face, dude. But yeah, let's see. Hung out with or did that on Saturday afternoon. I played in my Rogue Trader game that I'm playing, like via distance with a couple of guys, including one of our listeners, Kyle, who's the freaking man,
the best.
He's just the best. And then he was actually there for that whole conversation too. He hung out with us that whole night. Like he said, he was. Yeah, what a boss. Anyway.
He helps us find our way in the back alleys of fake Europe in Vegas.
Yeah, if it wasn't for him, I totally would have been assaulted by some kind of French pimp, I'm sure, in some of the back alleys of Paris, right?
I would have been stuck in Gordon Ramsay's restaurant because that's all I could find.
You would have had to buy a $60 steak. The child steak for $60, please.
Hell
yeah. So I've been doing that. I have been playing some tabletop simulator games. I think I played one game with the new Dark Angels, which was pretty fun. We'll talk about that probably a little bit later. I played 4 games with Death Guard.
Yeah, you've been getting in.
So yeah, which has been great. It's been really fun to play that. I finally won one, which was good.
It gives me great hope when you go 3-1 with Death Guard. It gives me amazing hope. We played a game.
1 and 3, John.
1 and 3. Still amazing hope.
And then we played a game.
We did play a game. Yeah, you came over and I ran some Death Guard headfirst into the Silent King.
You did. You ran Mortarion almost headfirst into the Silent King. They almost fought.
They almost did.
But the Silent King is a little bit too tactical to take on Mortarion one-on-one.
Yes, while Mortarion advanced east, the Silent King went the fuck west.
Get me out of here.
I'm
the Silent King.
Roomba scooted along.
But that was a great game John and I played. It was super good to play a game in person, which is always the best way to play. What else? I started to organize a club-only tournament that we're going to have.
I'm able to make that with my new schedule, which I'm very excited about.
I'm very excited about this. Yeah. Like, this is going to be a good ass time. I need to make sure we have 8 people.
Yep. So our plan is Danny rented out a store on the day it's closed. We're going to invite 8 people total to play a 1-day RTT. We are bringing thermometers, have a COVID questionnaire, and having mask wearing being mandatory, but mainly just bringing 6 of our closest friends together to throw dice in a way that doesn't make me accidentally flip tables when I hit space.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be the day after I take the LSAT, so it'll be pretty awesome to get a break again. So that has been, I think that's everything I've been doing. I feel like there's more that's going on, but nothing related to wargaming, I guess. I've just been busy with life too. So a lot of COVID preparation and stuff like that at work. So, which has been a little intense.
Yeah.
But fun in a good way.
You've gone all through preparation A through G. Let's hope preparation H.
I'm ready for the H.
It is ready to go.
My B-hole.
Heck yeah.
It's tender.
We're gonna take a quick break then, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about some Death Guard.
Dude, I'm the best. I took first place at another tournament.
First off, stop with the thunder and lightning. You don't impress me. And second, let me check out the BCP rankings. And I don't see you on there.
What?
Your TO needs to download the Best Coast Pairings app and run events on it. After the event, the results are uploaded into BCP rankings, and the best part, it's easy and free.
But I play multiple game systems.
No big deal. The BCP app can be used for any game. A ton of events every weekend are using it, from major international tournaments to local stores. And now that it's available on Android devices, you're going to have some serious competition.
There can be only one.
BCP Rankings is a fun and exciting way to measure how you or your team stack up. No matter what you play, your score goes to an overall ranking, or compete to be the best in a game, a circuit, a region, or the world.
Download the app or visit www.bestcoastpairings.com for more info.
Best Coast Pairings.
Are you the best?
Man, and we're back. And for the first time even, we did this perfectly without even having to redo anything. Hey,
Not even once.
Not even once. You know who has an amazing 40K mind?
Is it Innes Wilson?
It is Innes Wilson, captain of Team Scotland. Great all-around person, boss baby, as Peter the Penguin Clismo is trying to get over as a term.
True.
And just has a great mind for how 40K goes. So while Danny's coaching service, which you can subscribe for at our Patreon, if you search under Patreon for Mob Rules, free access to Danny's coaching service, only $5 a month, is just get good. Innes is coming up with some game theory to really help you maximize your game and actually get some use out of this podcast to help you get better.
Definitely take a listen.
Take a listen to this amazing little segment for our newest Mob Rules correspondent, Innes Wilson.
Hi everyone, my name is Innes Wilson, and I'm happy to be working with John and Danny to bring you guys a new segment, which is Name Pending. This series will be attempting to cover a range of aspects around the general theory of Warhammer 40,000. I hope you all find that as interesting as I do, as it's one that is quite uncommon to hear people talking about. The first of these topics is a basic rundown on what skill in 40k actually means. We've all heard a lot of nebulous ways to define it, and it varies massively from player to player, so I've done my best to distill it down to a few elements, specifically based on things you do at the table. So we're not looking at things like meta awareness and list building, as they are not things that you can actually impact while you're standing at your 60 by 44. These also aren't organised in terms of importance, as that will change based on your perspectives of the game. The first of these is rules knowledge, which is your own rules and also those of your opponents. The second is a general awareness of probability, which is how likely events are to happen, and an ability to compare between multiple options and decide your path. Third is prediction skills, which is what is your opponent going to do in situations, whether that's one that you are attempting to create or one that you have created and are needing to adapt to. Next is reaction, which is your ability to respond to what is and isn't happening, and adaptation to those situations. Next we have planning, which is understanding your path to victory and conceiving of actions to take to get there. Micro is moving or placing your models well. Macro is your general game plan and how you execute it. Target priority is what needs to do what, both in terms of combat, whether that's shooting or actual close combat, and also just being places, such as positioning for engage on all fronts or objective play. And finally we have repetitions, which is how many times you've been in a similar situation to draw upon your experience. As a player, you're going to have strengths and weaknesses in all of these areas, and good players can be great at some and terrible at others. I've definitely seen top players who get by being incredible at one or two of these skills and middling at best at the rest, and that's not a bad thing. Understanding your strengths and limitations around you allows you to work around them and develop strategies to mitigate them, and to rely heavily on your strengths, which if you're just better at them by making a game on your terms, that's how you win games. Different armies and playstyles react differently to different types of skills, and that might be why you're finding success with an army that's completely different to what you'd normally play. It could also be why minor changes in list style can drastically impact your win condition, and also why most top players just don't agree on what to play. If you're looking for a new project, a way to find something that will fit for you can be to look at the skills that your current army requires and finding one that requires a similar set of skills, or to look for one with very different requirements that will push you beyond your comfort zone. Being good at just a small subset of these things can be enough to take you really far, but they're all important in taking yourself to the top. But if you're just getting started at the whole improvement and self-criticism thing, I'd suggest focusing on your game knowledge and your micro as well as repetitions. Having that solid foundation in place will let you better adapt to the specific areas you might be weak in, and to focus on those that you're doing really well at. Game knowledge also has the advantage of you being able to work on it away from the table easier than any of the others. So for me, for example, every couple of days I'll just crack open a codex I'm not super familiar with, and have a quick read of the stratagems list, a couple of the key units, and maybe like the warlord traits, just to make sure I have a working understanding of the faction. Now, I'm not saying that you all need to be doing 40k homework every day, because that's excessive, but talking about the game with friends and keeping up to date with what's happening will make you a better and more well-rounded player. If you're not making mistakes in where you put things and you know what your stuff does, it's a lot easier to develop down the rest of the line. No perfect list is ever going to solve your problems, so get out there and focus on cutting down mistakes and getting reps in, but remember that making mistakes is a natural part of the development process. The key is not to make the same mistake twice. Try and keep a mental note after a game, whether you win or lose, as to what went right and what went wrong for you, and remember that this cannot involve the dice, you are better than that. This means that every game will influence how you play the next one, as you're always learning, you'll always be getting better. I've been Innes with this as yet unnamed segment. Back to you, John and Danny.
Man, thank you, Innes. Some great advice going in there, and excited to have, sort of excited to have Boss Baby on the podcast, Danny.
Sure.
One, that makes me now the third best Death Guard player on the podcast. Which seeing as that's my only army right now, super demoralizing. That's cool. I'm gonna go do my 40k homework and read some books. But yeah, and on the plus side, it now means you are outnumbered by Scottish people on the podcast. So
yeah,
swings and roundabouts. They're all over the place there.
It's okay as long as you guys don't. As long as I know how you feel. I know how you feel about this, but as long as you guys don't start wearing like utility-kilts and shit, we'll be fine.
Fuck no. But I'm going to be going to LVO next year wearing a kilt with a dice spar, and that's the only way to really do it. But anyway, Death Guard. They got their new book after a month of delays. Supposed to be out in December. Thankfully, due to COVID lockdowns, that was pushed back a little bit. And it finally came out the start of January. And man, what a book. It was not what I was expecting, to be totally honest with you.
Fair enough.
Some of the rumors that were going around about disgustingly resilient, changing to -1 damage came true. Mortarion being just a monster, that came true. And a lot of really good warlord traits and some redone powers. But the way the army's constructed and plays is really fundamentally changed. And all of the crutches and things I used for lack of skill last year are now no longer a thing. Gone is my Blight Bombardment, Mortal Wound Bomb, replaced by Harbinger Poxwalkers, Mortal Wound Bombs. And gone are a lot of other little tricks and things that happened before. Tempered down a few other units and tempered up a few other ones as well. Danny, what are your takes on Codex Death Guard?
Well, I mean, overall, I think your statement that it's fundamentally changed is pretty accurate. I think that they're like the way that they've changed the army construction now, in that you have a lot more things you have to do, a lot more criteria you have to meet before you can take certain units. Like you can't just take Poxwalkers, Carte Blanche. You have to like actually take core units before you can take Poxwalkers, and Poxwalkers aren't also core units, so it kind of makes them a limited factor. However, their new rules are just excellent for Poxwalkers. Like they are a vast improvement over what they were before.
They are now base toughness 4. They have a 6-up, feel no pain. That's standard. They still have their 7-up save. Their attacks are no longer hitting on 4s only if they are in a large unit. They hit pretty hard, and they have a couple of really nice stratagems that translated across from War of the Spider.
Yeah. The mutant strain stratagem is great, and it's not limited only to Harbingers anymore, which is pretty nice. Just gives them. Was it limited to Harbingers only last time? I don't remember. It doesn't matter. Everybody can use it now.
Yeah,
right?
I don't think it was limited to Harbingers before. A mutant strain is when you roll to hit, a 6 is a mortal wound to your opponent, a 1 is a mortal wound to you.
And importantly, after the fight phase is over.
Right, so with all rerolls and all other kinds of fun stuff. So that's why it pairs up really well with the Harbinger's specific stratagem of re-rolling all hits and misses for Poxwalkers, because being that they are not a core unit anymore, there is not a lot of ways to get them re-rolls.
Right. In fact, I don't think there's any way other than that stratagem, which is neat.
Which is good, because
for 5 points, right, exactly. And they dropped 2 points a model, something like that. Yep. So like a significant drop in points. So they definitely got better. Cultists got a lot worse.
Which I think is something we're going to see carried on through Thousand Suns and Chaos Codex as well.
Yeah. So they want you to take Chaos Space Marines and Chaos Space Marine armies, which is good, because that's what you should be taking as your troop choices. The Cultists should just be a filler.
We have the new rules for taking the elite characters as well.
The Fetid Viron is a great rule. Since Death Guard have so many different little support characters, it's nice not to have to spend all your slots. It makes it easier for you to take like a patrol.
Right, which is something they want to seem to encourage you to do with the Lords of the Death Guard rule.
Right.
So Lords of the Death...
Which is a weird rule.
It's a weird one. I think I can see it being FAQ'd a little bit. Like, not hugely, but right now as it stands, you can only take one character per detachment who has the Lord of the Death Guard keyword, real similar to how Tau Commanders used to be. The only characters in the book that do not have that keyword are Chaos Space Marine Sorcerer and Terminator Armor, regular Sorcerer gone, removed from the book, and then also the Poop Sorcerer, whose name escapes me. The Malignant Plaguecaster. Those are the only two. So if you want to run a battalion of pure Death Guard, you are now unable to take one of those secondaries for having aboard the Witch, because you have to take a Psyker in order to kind of fill out that battalion. And being like the lore of the Death Guard of not loving Psykers all that much, or at least Mortarion doesn't. Well, I mean, he's a little bit more fond of them now, but it's kind of a
now
weird
that he
way.
is one.
Yeah, you love it. You gotta love it when you are. It's sort of a weird way to construct, and like when it comes to army construction with Death Guard, it is so hard. Like I can't remember how many lists I've sent where after I'm saying like, wait, shit, no, that's illegal. Because again, you have the Lords of the Death Guard rule where you can only take one of these per detachment, and some of these characters are amazing. I will say, rather interestingly, I haven't made a single list with the Demon Prince yet.
Yeah, I think he's actually pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand why you haven't. Like I really like Lords of Contagion, and the Lord of Virulence is good too. So yeah, I think there's some good choices there for sure.
So with the HQ things and happen, and then the new rule is for, like Danny was saying, you can only take one unit of Poxwalkers for every core Death Guard unit you take.
Mm-hmm.
So that is right now Death Shroud, the other Terminators, the Blightlord Terminators, your Plague Marines, Possessed, I believe are your 4 core choices. So really sort of limit.
Possessed core? I don't remember.
Possessed or core?
They probably are.
Possessed or core.
Okay, cool.
So that's like a good option for like a quote unquote cheap core option. But mostly what we're seeing in the army lists that are coming out for Death Guard is the rise of the Terminator.
Right. Their Terminators are just excellent. Very tough for their points. 3 wounds, -1 damage. toughness 5, 4-up invulnerable save. They're not as slow as they were. Like they're not movement 4, they're movement 5, and they can advance without suffering really any penalty.
Yeah.
So,
and then the new stratagem, Plague Flails. I think in the past, another thing I leaned on heavily with the spillover damage. Spillover damage is now a stratagem for any infantry unit for Death Guard, or any core Death Guard infantry unit, which means when you combine it with something like the Death Shroud, where you can maybe swing with those higher damage attacks with the better AP, but still not lose out on any wounds. So it gives you like a lot more flexibility and makes those Death Shroud way more viable. They do lose the ability to tank wounds for Mortarion, as they should, because they are tiny little men, and he is giant.
He's a demon Primarch, yeah.
He's a giant moth dude. But overall, Death Shroud, amazing. Real big winners out of that book.
I feel like every single game I've gotten use out of their bodyguard's ability, especially like just sticking a foul blight spawn like literally in front of the unit. So that like, because they have a rule bodyguard where nobody can shoot a character that's within 3 inches of them, even if there's only one of them left. So I usually stick like a foul blight spawn like literally in front of the unit. So if you want to charge him, like the Death Shroud can heroically intervene to you, because I usually have been playing the Mortarion's Anvil company. But that also means that you can't charge the Death Shroud without also getting strikes last or reducing all of your charge benefits from the Revolting Stench Vats relic that is ubiquitous on that character.
Yeah, and there's a lot of auto take relics. The Stench Vats, which kind of give it its old rule. Its new rule is much similar to the Judicer, for like picking one unit to fight last, whereas the relic gives it sort of more an ability closer to its old rule. Some other standout relics, man, there's a lot. There's a lot of good relics.
There's so many good ones.
I'll tell you, like when I'm making a list, it's really hard not to spend all my CP on relics. The replacement Man Reaper Blade for the Lord of Contagion, just amazing.
Okay, that one's good.
Super good. The Fulgaris's Helm has a huge
Fulgaris's Helm is
place.
dope.
You guys are going to see a lot of Fulgaris's Helm Plague Surgeons going around. That's kind of like the common cool guy thing to do. The Tallyman has an amazing relic as well. And what's nice is a lot of these are no longer Plague Company locked. Which again is super, super nice. The
Plague Company relics have some good ones in there too. Like the Plague Fly Hive for Mortarion's Anvil, for instance, is reroll to hit and to wound rolls for the bear. So on a Demon Prince or Lord of Contagion with a big choppy axe, that's pretty brutal.
Yeah, absolutely. And each of the Plague Companies that we first saw in War of the Spider are present in this book. They've been simplified down to be one Warlord trait, one relic, and one stratagem. What are some of your favorites?
Well, the Warlord traits specifically are pretty interesting because they key off of the Contagions rule, and each of them has a different contagion. There's probably like 3 of the 7 that are like really good contagions for the Warlord traits. And those ones, of course, are the Gloaming Bloat from Mortarion's Anvil with no reroll to hit or to wound rolls for enemy models within contagion range. And then also the Droning is half movement. And then I forgot what the name of the one is that is -1 AP for weapon attacks on enemy units that are within 6 inches of the bearer. I think that one's pretty good too, actually.
That one is really good. I have gravitated, as many others have, as I'm a terrible net lister, to the Ferrymen, which before this edition was not the kind of number one chosen Plague Company. Their Warlord trait / Contagion is half movement to your enemy while you're within contagion range, which just makes it really gross. Which, if you position it right, it means that your opponent can never get out of heroic intervention range. It means that they're struggling to, like, if they choose a secondary that's like getting line breaker or anything like that, they're going to struggle huge because there's stratagems where you can move that Warlord trait about your army to get it to where it needs to be. Just a lot of really cool stuff that you can do with those guys. Rotten Constitution, I think, would be my favorite Warlord trait, though, out of all of them.
Oh, that one's really good.
That's one of the base Warlord traits. It doesn't necessarily tie to a Plague Company, but it's you ignore AP -1 and 2, and you add 1 to your toughness, which is just which is a great combo. And on a Lord of Contagion, where you're in Terminator armor, you're ignoring AP 1 and 2, you're toughness 6, you're -1 damage. It makes him really freaking annoying to the point where I think, Danny, in our game, you had to shoot one of the Silent King's menors at him in order to get him off.
That is what happened. Is exactly
that's the only way. And like, you shouldn't have to like dedicate an entire menhir to like one dude, just sort of hanging out in the backfield. But generally, a very tough army. But again, a very tough to play army too.
I don't think it's an easy army to play. It's definitely kind of a real shake-up from like the Necron list that I've been playing. That has a lot of wounds. So it's like a different kind of durability that I'm not super used to playing yet. But I'm definitely going to be giving it more shots. It's interesting to see some of the units that were like pretty bad before, like entropy cannons on plague burst crawlers and blow-drones with flesh mowers, breathing some new life into those units, which is great. I'm always happy to see new things being relevant.
Yeah, so you've played some games with Death Guard. You played against Death Guard. What are your key takeaways from the army now? Like I said, it's harder to play. It's kind of harder to it's a different play style. In your opinion, kind of what is like a really good Death Guard army for someone to play, and how does it beat a Necron list?
Oh, that's good. So I think that like you kind of have to be relentlessly advancing all the time. And you want to try and avoid, I feel like you want to try and avoid secondaries that are like pushing to get in your opponent's deployment zone. Because your opponent has a lot of really easy ways to just kind of say like, no, thanks, I don't want you in here. Assuming they're not playing like a total idiot, right?
Fingers crossed that they are.
Yeah, right. But so I think you want to try and hug cover as much as possible, just like any kind of other, because they have changed from, I don't know, I guess they were kind of a shooting army before this, and now they're like a close range shooting army, and now they're more like an assault army that's also really tough, that you don't want to have to fight them in close combat, because when you do, you're probably going to lose, just because they have so many debuffs on all your things that it's going to be really difficult to kind of get away from the debuffs they're going to put on you.
I mean, we're still seeing some of the typical chaos struggles against sort of like high toughness things. But like, for example, sort of in our game, like anything those Death Shroud touch kind of disappeared. Outside of like giant robots that I can't really deal with. So yeah, definitely moving to a more assault-based army. What's your one favorite unit from the book? We're gonna say our favorite unit, and then we'll move on to Dark Angels here.
Death Shroud probably are my favorite unit.
Death Shroud. Why Death Shroud?
Well, okay, so they're tough. They hit like a ton of bricks. I mean, even 3 guys put out like 13 strength attacks. 7 attacks,
or 26.
Or yeah, right. Or they make they make 26 attacks at strength 5, so they can like just blend or anything. The amount of buffs and stuff that you can put on them, their core, their bodyguards, their Terminator armor, like they fit all of the niches. The only thing they don't have going for them is objective secured, which I think is probably the biggest weakness of the book.
Right, because only 2 units in the book are objective secured, which is the Poxwalkers and the Plague Marines, and there is no way to give anything else objective secured.
Or I don't even think there's a way you can take away objective secured either, is there?
No, so you're going to struggle in that aspect of it. But at the same time, with how durable it is and how quickly you're looking to move up the table, any more objective secured would be broken. Like Death Shroud being objective secured just means that I'm taking 15 Death Shroud every game and just dropping them on an objective. So it's a good bit of balance. For me,
which is great. What about you, John? What's your favorite?
Death Guard, Sorcerer, and Terminator armor.
Okay. All right. Tell me about your plan here.
So my plan here, he gets Deep Strike. Naturally, you have to take him if you want to take a battalion, which you're going to want to do to maximize your elite choice slot, which for the Death Guard is the most heavily filled slot. Even with like your characters only taking up 1 slot, your Death Shroud take up a slot. Blightlord Terminators take up a slot. Chaos Spawn, I believe, are fast attack, but other like there's a lot. There's a lot of choice in that elite slot. So you're going to want the full like ability to take 4 to 6. So you're going to have to take either a Chaos Sorcerer in Terminator armor or a Malignant Plaguecaster. The fun thing is the Sorcerer and Terminator armor has availability to a loadout that very few others in the Death Guard army have. And when I say that, I mean he can have a Chain Fist, he can have a Combi Melta, and as I said earlier, Death Guard's still struggling a little bit with high toughness and kind of a high wound things. Like I worry about running into Imperial Knights a little bit because I'm not quite sure, like outside of just trying to mortal wound them to death with Poxwalkers, what to do. I can drop a very small footprint down anywhere on the board, like because it's very easy to drop 140 millimeter base down, and that guy is gonna be a threat right away with his Combi Melta. If he charges in, he has -1 toughness from the Death Guard aura. Personally, I give him the Warlord trait to give him the Ferryman trait, so he gives out a half movement aura too. So the whole idea is to drop him in a center of the army. If he dies, he dies, but he's going to drop himself down in the center of the army. He's going to cast a Psychic Power on himself to add 6 inches to his contagion range. So as soon as he drops down turn 2, he should be able to pretty much cripple an 18-inch aura around him of half movement, and just be something that you have to take care of.
Oh, you mean 9 inches from
9
both
inches
sides,
from both sides. So that's like an 18-inch circle around
okay.
him, which is a huge chunk of the table nowadays.
Sure.
Of just half movement, which is going to be super irritating. His Combi Melta means that he's going to be irritating. A Chain Fist is going to be irritating. And I said I see play for him for that way. And also he's a Psyker, which gives him all like option to the other powers that Death Guard have, which got a slight improvement from the last book too. So if you have to take him, he's 130 points with a Combi Melta and a Chain Fist. There's worse things to spend 130 points on, especially when your next cheapest option is 95 with the Malignant Plaguecaster.
Yeah, okay, cool.
So I like him. Well, we'll see how he does. Most likely, whenever I get super excited about something, I'll play him in one game. He'll do awfully because I'll play him bad, and then he'll go sit on my shelf forever.
I'm excited for this guy to do that, and then because you don't actually have him yet, for you to like just throw the box into your hobby room and just be like, "I'm fucking done with you,
dude." You know as well as I have. You have done that too, where you've proxied something.
Absolutely.
And then he really sucked. So then when you got him, you're like, no, fuck you. I'm not building you for years. And I won't sell you either.
Yeah, exactly.
The other new book that came out this month, Codex Dark Angels, a Codex Space Marine supplement. This book is fucking ridiculous.
Dude, it fucks.
So as a Death Guard player coming in and I see my book, I'm like, okay, cool. I have a lot of tools. I can deal with Space Marine stuff. There's a lot of ways to deal with Space Marine. I can shut down a lot of their shenanigans really easily. There's not much they can say about it. Codex Dark Angel says no.
I don't know if that's entirely true, John, but I get what you're saying. Like, keep in mind a lot of the tools that Death Guard have are contagions and therefore not auras. And so even Dark Angels can't turn them off.
You can never turn me off.
Oh, man. If only I'd never heard that before.
So tell us about, Codex Dark Angels. Probably really S tier in the Space Marine Codex levels.
Yeah, I think it's probably the best supplement. It just has a lot of really great tools. I'm trying to think of like where to even start with it. So I guess let's talk about Ravenwing and Deathwing. So if you've seen the index that's on the Games Workshop's website, or if you haven't, I'll tell you about it. So basically, if you have the Ravenwing keyword in the book, you'll get Jink. And what Jink means is that if you move, you get a 5-up invulnerable save. If you advance, you get a 4-up. Which is a nice power. It's not overpowered or anything like that. Like, it's just good. Then Deathwing have effectively transhuman physiology all the time. So that means that they can only be wounded on a natural 4 or better. Not modified, doesn't matter. You can only wound them on a 4 or better, and that's any infantry model. Now, there's supposedly some downsides to this, that they like can't fall back sometimes if they make like a leadership 9 test. Basically, they roll 2d6, and if you can roll equal to or under their leadership value, they can fall back anyway. But a lot of times you just want to stay in combat and smash people up. So
because you're only being wounded 50% of the time.
I mean, yeah, you want to smash them up. And so then they get their doctrine ability isn't just one doctrine, it's actually 3 different mini doctrines. So
because of the 3 different kind of like things with the Raven Wing, Death Wing, and Green Wing.
And the Green Wing, which is the normal dudes. Yeah. So like Raven Wing, they get plus 3 inches of movement in Devastator Doctrine, and they can advance and shoot any weapon at a -1 to hit.
It's really good.
Yeah, that's super solid.
Do you think that the Green Wing feel really rejected that they don't get to be special? Like, they try out
no,
for
dude,
the
they're
Raven
actually,
Wing?
I think that they have maybe the best piece of it. I know it doesn't seem that way, but if you think of like the connotations for it, it's extremely good. Like, so they're just quote unquote normal Space Marines, right? So they're not Deathwing.
Poor babies.
I know, right? But if they're engaged in combat, they can still fire weapons into combat. They just have a ballistic skill of 4+. Now, the Dark Angels chapter tactic is +1 to hit if you haven't moved. So if you're engaged, you're not moving. So you're going to get +1 to hit. So they hit everybody on 4s. And for the stuff that's really good with, it doesn't matter because you're like, I don't know, like Flamestorm Aggressors is what come to mind to me.
Oh.
So they just shoot their flamers into combat without penalty.
I don't like that.
They just do 2d6 auto hits at -1 because it's still tactical doctrine. And then if Deathwing weren't good enough, their mini doctrine is an assault doctrine. You get to reroll failed to wound rolls in melee against units with a model that has 8 or more wounds and characters. So you're talking Power Fists, your Maces of Absolution, even like Blade Guard veterans have Mastercrafted Power Swords, so they're wounding all of that big stuff on 5s, but with a reroll, it's like a 60% chance to do a wound. So, I mean, they're going to be just tearing up knights and that kind of stuff, even then with the amount of attacks that they get.
Which seems super cool. Like, we seem to be like going to like heavier to character models and kind of that character keyword. So having this unit or units that can just kind of blend their characters a little easier seems to be super strong.
Yeah, that's cool with me. I don't have a problem with characters. I just feel bad for anybody who invested any points in a large model, I guess. Fuck those guys.
There's a reason the list I made for our next game is called No Mortarian. As he is both.
That's fair. You get a lot more stuff, it turns out.
A large character and a large model and a character.
Does it have we'll talk about it later. It doesn't matter. No. Anyway, they have a great psychic discipline with a lot of really good psychic powers. They have targeted fights last. They have a targeted -1 to hit. They have a turn off auras power. They have a turn off objective secured and cancels actions power.
That one is stupid good.
It's really good, yeah. So they have a lot of good abilities. I'm excited to kind of play around with them. There's a lot of really cool like little tricks and stuff they can do. I kind of want to play Ravenwing. I have a Ravenwing army, so it'd be kind of cool to bust it on the table and see if it's actually as good as I think it is. I think it's probably really, really good.
So I would say, what is the most improved unit in the supplement for Dark Angels? Over the index.
Man, that's a good question.
I do this.
I don't know. I think the index already had a bunch of their units were already really good. I guess it would probably be like normal Deathwing Terminators. The normal Deathwing Terminator squads. Oh, also, if you build an entirely Ravenwing Vanguard or Outrider or an entirely Deathwing Vanguard, you get objective secured on some of the basic Deathwing and Ravenwing units respectively.
So if you have an entirely Deathwing detachment, which now cannot be wounded on a 1, 2, or 3, and Terminator armor that is now objective secured.
Yep. That's very good.
On the plus side, I'm assuming exactly like the Flail of Corruption for Death Guard, they also lost the ability to spill over attacks.
Oh, well, let me tell you a secret, John. When I told John this on the chat when we got the book, he was furious.
Like,
so not only does it not, but you can spend a CP to mastercraft it and make it +1 damage. So it's like you can have a damage 3 flail that carries damage over between attacks. Like,
so like I think my soul came from, I'm like, okay, cool, that sort of thing's going away. I totally get it. Or it's turning into a stratagem. Whatever, that's fine. So not all, and we didn't mention the Death Guard part, but they lost Death to the False Emperor. So
they did.
I don't get exploding 6s anymore. I don't get D3 flails anymore. I get 2. And not only that, but the damage doesn't carry over anymore, which I'm like, all right, all things considered, that's probably fair. That's okay. And then, of course, Dark Angels come in, and they're like, oh, yeah, no, we have all the cool stuff over here. And I'm like, God damn it.
JK, LOL.
Very
Get
salty.
good.
Get good. Well, I'm trying, but, you keep taking all my crutches away.
It's so, like, I guess the difference is to me is that they don't have multiple of them in one squad, I guess.
Right.
And the flail was only ever the amount of attacks that you had. It wasn't also like an extra D3 attacks or because it was like 1d3 extra attacks per attack previously, right?
Right. So, I mean,
so a flail that did 6 attacks with 1 damage, with 2 damage that carried over would probably be pretty gross, but you can still do that. It's just, I don't know. I feel you though. I'm not trying to like
all the crutches going away.
An apologist here. Yeah,
no, it's all good. It's all good. It's just I have to get good, which is something I've tried to avoid for years now. And now can no longer.
The relics are good. Their stratagems are good. Like everything is good in this book. So it's a great choice. I'm glad to see so as I've said numerous times on this podcast, Dark Angels. If I had to pick one Space Marine chapter to play, I would always play Dark Angels. And now that they're really good at everything,
you're like I will.
That's probably and now I will.
No, when they're bad. Again, due to our scheduling, we didn't get a chance to do a video review of the Dark Angels. We did a video review of the Death Guard book, which is up on our YouTube channel. We Danny wrote up an amazing summary of all the great changes that happened and put it on our Facebook page. And definitely check out Philip Hall, the Glacial Geek. He did an amazing video review of the Dark Angel book. Obviously, Phil's first, second, third, and fourth love being Dark Angels. He was very excited, as he should be, as that book is very good. Holy cow. That's okay. I'm excited because it shows how it's going to go. And I like that it's another Marine book that plays differently.
It is. It is a different Marine book. It's like a very defensive book overall. Like their secondaries defensive. Their secondaries are defensive except for the Ravenwing one. It does feel like it feels different than White Scars, feels different than Blood Angels, feels different than Iron Hands, etc., etc. So pretty cool.
Which when all of the books are using the same core 100 units is a really great feat.
A paltry 100 units.
A paltry 100 units shared. It's a great feat. We're going to take the quickest of breaks, and then we're going to come back, and Danny's going to tell us about the giant FAQ that dropped, taking anecdotal statistics and making them a reality.
Do you have a single wound? A standard bolt gun? Having trouble maintaining an acceptable Xenos kill count? Only barely over 2 meters tall? Maybe it's time to ask your lieutenant if the Rubicon Primaris is right for you. The Rubicon Primaris is a prescription process that helps you to update that tired look. You may notice an increase in your purging abilities within 2 to 4 hours. You may experience loss of life, additional organs, and a points increase. Do not take the Rubicon if you plan on fitting into rhinos, drop pods, or other traditional vehicles. The Rubicon Primaris is not intended for second founding chapters. The Rubicon Primaris is for use on genetically enhanced super soldiers over the age of 800 only. You are encouraged to report negative side effects to your company's apothecary. The Rubicon Primaris. Because sometimes plot armor is just not enough.
Oh man, big yikes as well. Just in a chat, Buttle from the NZ40 Shabal podcast sharing his review on the Dark Angels book. and that is a eBay post of someone selling a very meta White Scars army that was really good 2 weeks ago.
It's still very good. Jesus Christ.
But it's not
what a baby.
It's not the best. So it must die and it must go. Danny, giant FAQs happened, which really changed the way Ninth plays, or I guess how you would play Ninth. Because it plays the same, but it makes a couple of key little changes. Take us on that journey.
Okay, sure. Well, first of all, they changed some of the core rules specifically for things like deploying large models, so you can deploy your Orion gunship in your deployment zone. Not have to cry about it and make a bunch of
all it took
angry
was
Facebook pages on Comp40K.
All it took was 4 videos and a leading questionnaire.
And a deliberate misunderstanding of the Bible. So the sorry. All right, so moving on.
So yeah, if you're not happy with your model, that's the roadmap. That's the roadmap to get it changed.
They changed some of the rules for things like the rare rules section, which are pretty important. They changed like if you do an action and then are moved somewhere else, like you fail the action, which is good because it keeps you from like starting scramblers in their deployment zone and then getting teleported into the enemy deployment zone.
The heroic way to do scramblers.
So heroic. Just teleport stuff. It's like teleporting photon torpedoes onto the Borg ship, right?
Hell yeah. It's the only way to defeat them.
Gotta get that done. Let's see what else. They changed some of the I think that there's probably, and this hasn't happened yet, I think they're going to be changing some of the fight first, fight last kind of rules, and kind of making sure that they're all pretty equivalent.
Just so like the language is the same between like the Judicer and the Foul Blight Spawn and kind of things like that. Yeah, and
like because some people can interrupt out of these and some people can't, and that just seems like unintentional. Maybe it's totally intentional and I'm just an idiot.
Big if
other
true.
Things they did, yeah. Sorry, other things they did. They updated the Munitorium Field Manual.
They did.
So definitely redo your army very carefully. Because they did make some stealth changes to units where they made certain things free. Like for instance, like the not Imagifiers, but the Simulacrum bearers and Sisters of Battle units are free now, which is pretty cool. Which means you can use like an extra faith point for them every turn, like or in a phase where you've already used a faith point somewhere else, which is pretty nice. They were like 5 points before, so. It's like, yeah, why not? Like, I know I did build a bunch of my Sisters of Battle without them.
Because why would you pay 5 points for that? Right. But see, big GW, free, so. Big GW selling more Sisters of Battle box sets because you need to get those models. Yeah. Secretly, because they're out of stock.
They changed some secondaries, which are pretty important. They changed Big Game Hunter, or not Big Game Hunter, Bring It Down.
Which is great because you're no longer punished for taking transports.
Right, which is good. And like the amount of victory points you get out of like even vehicle heavy armies is pretty low. Even if your army is like oops all vehicles, like you still barely give up 15 maybe.
Well, it just felt bad sort of like so back when we were playing before like the new Death Guard book and I have my little like drills and other stuff there. I'm like, well, I just lose Bring It Down because I have 3 vehicles or 4 vehicles. And that doesn't
I'm just going to give up these points, and that sucks.
Yeah.
That's a sucky feeling.
And it really limits sort of like army construction. And it's something like the Meta Watch articles talked about on the Warhammer community site was that like most secondaries average about 9 to 10 points. So you shouldn't be maxing them. So when you have these ones that really punish armies, like Bring It Down really punishes some armies, and then the other one that changed big was the psychic ones, the Abhor the Witch.
Oh yeah, that changed pretty dramatically. Just making sure that it's like you're just not scoring like 1 million points off of it. So they changed it to psychic characters are worth 3 and psychic units are worth 2. I mean, you're probably still going to max it out if you're playing against a psychic army, but it's not going to be. You can't just kill like 3 units and be like, all right, job's a good one. Like I don't have to do anything else, which is great. They did upgrade. They did make some of the Space Marine units cost a little bit more.
Inceptors went up in price 5 points.
Yeah, Inceptors, Eradicators, and the bikes, the Outriders.
Right. So when we talk about
all the good units from Indominus,
I was going to say, when we talk about there being 100 different Space Marine units, the 3 units that people use went up in points.
Yeah. But they did release mostly a new FAQ about every book, for the most part, with a few exceptions. A lot of books, I should say, like most of the different Psychic Awakening books. So there's just there's a bunch of little changes that I would kind of go through. Especially, I would go through the Munitorium Field Manual changes, and just make sure you're actually paying the right points for your units. Because again, lots of little things changed in there. It's hard for me to keep track of every tiny change to everything.
Dare you?
I know. And if you're playing power level, they updated the power levels as well for everything,
which is super good. Which is something we sort of expected to see with like a new GT pack in December, but instead we got the new mission pack with terrain rules. So it's nice to see them still updating power level and kind of keeping on top of that. As much as we want to say, competitive play is like the be all and end all of 40K, it's really, I think we're to like
it ain't
8-10% of total players. While we might inform a lot of the decisions, the main people are playing power level. So it's good that their game is remaining updated as well.
Sure. Oh, and one more thing as well that I'd like to note, which I think is a really great rule for intent. They changed the Blood Angels rule where like some things when they put you in Assault Doctrine didn't count for the Blood Angels like Super Doctrine ability to get +1 attack on the charge. And they've changed that now. So basically, if it says you're in this doctrine, you count for all intents and purposes as being in that doctrine. So like it's a win for like, I think what the obvious intent of the rule was and not the rules as written, which is like, honestly, that's the way that you should be looking at most of this stuff. If it seems like a loophole, like it usually is.
And then most importantly, they changed the way the game scores. Which is huge.
God, how could I forget that?
Well, I figured we're closing out with the most important change, which was how the game is scored.
And anecdotally, it's not so heavy on second turn anymore, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know,
Grandpa.
Well, it's good because if you tell someone they're wrong, the only way to prove that they're wrong is to change the game so that you're right.
It's the perfect crime.
No one suspects it. It's a genius.
My fingerprints weren't all over this at all. Yeah, so they changed scoring for the player who goes second. You score primary at the end of the turn, which gives you a chance to score, I would say most of the time, unless you're like really decimated, you're going to get 15 points for primary going second. Which is awesome. I'm really happy about that. Yeah.
The other thing they changed is they took the choice away.
Oh yeah, you have to go first or second.
Which I think
also
is
a good rule.
Which I think is great because I mean you realize if you're going first, you're kind of fighting an uphill battle that last round, so you have to play a little bit differently to make sure your opponent doesn't just kind of maximize everything in that last turn.
Exactly.
Yeah. So like lots. Well, sorry, what were you saying?
I said hype.
Hype, yeah. Lots of little changes that have made massive changes overall. From points cost to like hidden free upgrades to how the game is scored. It's really going to change the way you play and definitely worth deep diving into because although we touched the changes in scoring, the changes in war gear, power level, and a bunch of other things and of the rare rules, we really scratched the surface on all the little changes. So if you're a TO, read up because when we point angrily at a computer screen, we're going to want to be backed up. Hey, Danny and I are going to be playing a game this week. We're going to talk about what our plans are, but we'll be right back.
Do you like cookies but want something more British? Buy biscuits. Not like those you have for gravy. British biscuits. For dunking in your British tea. Stiff upper lip guaranteed. Biscuits, as recommended by Queen Liz of the Britons.
Man, it's the shortest break. I didn't even mute us, Danny. So good thing neither of us said anything.
That was super fast.
That was yeah.
I hope they didn't hear Fred snoring.
That was Gav Thorpe who recorded that one for us years ago. But yeah,
casual name drop.
Yeah, that's what I do. That's all I do. I rely on others' skill to carry me. Speaking of which, we are now about 3 weeks away from the Pro Illuminati TT.
That's right.
Which is what we're calling our club event that we're going to be having to kind of bring in the new year and have sort of our first tournament, I think, since Vegas.
Yep. Well, I played in a tournament since then. I played in Ironman. Didn't you?
Oh, no. Yeah, we did the Ironman when we came back. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's been a long time. So we're kind of gathering some of our closest friends. Danny is going to be running Necrons at the event. I'm going to be stumbling through my Death Guard at the event, and in order to do that, we've been playing more in order to get good, as the kids say. So this week we're coming together as our lists sort of congeal more and more, and we kind of get a handle on what we want to play. Danny, you've been playing Necrons pretty consistently since the book came out.
I have, yeah.
So you have a good handle. I'm just trying to get a handle on Death Guard as a whole. But we have a couple of lists that we're going to go over what we're running. I'm going to talk about our thoughts behind it, what we're hoping to get out of the game. And then next time, we're going to talk about what actually happened and sort of like changes we made based on that, heading into this real huge 8-man RTT that we're going to be playing.
Enormous.
It's the best. So who wants to start?
I can start. That's fine. Well, what? No, why don't you start? Your list is like more important. My list is like just there.
Just there. I am running a pure Death Guard list. I know right now Death Guard is like probably strongest in soup, even though you're losing that -1 toughness aura. But I'm really trying to mono faction more than anything else. So I have using 3 detachments. They're all ferrymen because I'm trying to kind of keep my buffs manageable, and I don't want to mark the different units for different detachments to do different things. So my first one is a patrol for the ferryman. It's led by a Lord of Virulence at this point. By the time he gets to the tournament, it'll probably be a Lord of Contagion. I just love the model, and I want to field it because I have it painted. Troops-wise, I have 10 Poxwalkers. Good old guys to just sort of hang out in the back objective. I like.
Well, John, what core choice did you take to allow 10 Poxwalkers?
Well, it's rounded out by 2 units of Blight Lord Terminators.
Hell yeah.
I have both are exactly the same. There's everyone has a Bubotic Axe and a Combi Bolter, and there's 1 Flail of Corruption in each unit.
Cool.
So 2 5-mans of that. I have a Fortification detachment because if you go to our Facebook page at Mob Rules AK, you will see my Miasmic Malignifier, which is just a goddamn amazing model. Holy cow.
Nice.
I didn't realize how beautiful it was. And Danny, I think you too, until you saw mine. Like it looks great. There's a lot of awesome hidden detail on it, and on the table, it does work. It has like a stupid little pistol gun or a heavy gun that it uses. Yep. It automatically has max contagion range round 1. You can deploy it 12 inches away from your opponent's deployment zone. So it means round 1, if you move, you're going to be -1 toughness, which is pretty good. So it means I can do some long range shooting into there without worrying about my units getting really, really close round 1. It's rounded up.
I was really impressed by the COVID bong. It did a lot of work in our game.
Did you see the COVID bong?
Yeah.
I have a second. I may or may not convert it. But it did work, right? I mean, it didn't kill it.
It did awesome, man.
It didn't kill anything, but when it was like, oh, you're within 9 inches of this. So like round 1, it's like you're going to be -1 toughness.
Well, like it would make all my scarabs and stuff like that. It will make all my scarabs like toughness 2 around it, which is a big deal. And that means its flamer wounds them on 2s.
It means the combi bolters wound them on 2s,
and the combi bolters wound them on 2s, and your death shroud flamers wound them on 3s.
Right.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of really good utility there.
It's rounded out by a battalion. The battalion's going to have have my warlord, which is the Lord of Contagion. His warlord trait is going to be Rotten Constitution, which is +1 toughness, ignore AP 1 and 2. He's going to have the Reaper of Glorious Entropy, is going to be his relic. And then he's also going to have his Death Guard Sorcerer and Terminator Armor buddy with his Combi Melta and his Chain Fist. His traits, he has the Living Plague, which is the half movement when you're within plague range. And his psychic powers are Gift of Plagues and Putrescent Vitality. So Putrescent Vitality is just to make my Terminators a little tougher. Gift of Plagues adds 6 inches to my contagion range for 1 unit that I select. That combined with being able to shift, using CP, shift my contagions around, makes them super helpful. I have 3 units of Poxwalkers. They're my troops. I have a unit of 2 units of 18 and a unit of 10.
Nice.
And then to balance them out, 3 units of Death Shroud, 3 apiece.
Yeah, I like that.
Which, again, I think if you're not taking 9 Death Shroud in your Death Guard list, you need to find 450 points to take 3 units of Death Shroud in your Death Guard list.
And get them in there.
Get them in there. And then the one I'm really trying out here to see how they do, I might end up dropping like 4 of the Poxwalkers to fit in regular bloat drones with flash mowers. I'm taking 2 of the Forge World Death Guard Greater Blight drones. Mainly, they have a lot of guns. They're pretty tough. They're pretty fast. So I'm going to see really how it does. And also because they have the Plague Company keywords, I can move them up. And then I can use, again, CP to move contagions around and really try and kind of pigeonhole you in a little bit there.
Well, and it's just a guy that gets the aura as well, right? It doesn't get rid of the aura that the original guy had, does it?
No, I don't believe it does. So it gives a little bit more
and
utility.
It increases. Yeah.
It gives me a little bit of speed. And again, my plan with this army is just kind of what Danny was talking about earlier. The Poxwalkers advance. And then when they can charge, they charge. The Death Shroud advance. And when they can charge, they charge. It's real simple. I do plan on taking the Death Guard specific secondary, where it scores at the end of the game, and you get points for being in my deployment zone, within contagion range in my deployment zone and my opponent's deployment zone, and like a whole bunch of other different things. My plan is to put the COVID bong, the malefic or miasmic malignifier, in my deployment zone, far away from you. And leave it in contagion range of the objectives in my deployment zone or close to my deployment zone, hoping that there's going to be enough stuff coming forward. You're not really going to care about a poop bong. And that means at the end of the game, I can score for having something within contagion range of my deployment zone while moving forward. So we're going to see how that works out because, again, last time we played, it did really well in the middle of the table. But also some of the deployment rules for it, and also considering I have to be 12 inches away, it's a smaller table. It's really hard to place because it is really large. I hope to distract you with the Chaos Sorcerer, he's really not that great a shot. But like he has a 66% chance to hit you with a Melta, which is pretty nasty. The Chain Fist, it can be pretty nasty. Again, no access to rerolls, but just throwing him in the center of stuff and cutting that movement in half, especially like looking at Danny's list when he's going to go over Scarabs. I want to slow those guys down as quickly as possible, so I'm engaging on my terms rather than on yours.
The trick, John, is going to be making sure that you get off the power that increases his range by 6 inches for contagion.
It's Warp Charge 5.
Well, sure.
I'm hopeful.
Yeah, that's definitely like the first power you want to try and cast just to make sure it goes off, because otherwise if you deep strike him in, he's not actually going to do anything to my army.
No. So right?
Because he's only got a normal, and you're going to have to wait until turn 3 to have him do anything.
Right. We'll see
because
what he
otherwise
can do.
You'll be at 9-inch range on the contagion.
I'm just honestly trying to charge in, hoping I can advance the Death Shroud so they're within 3 inches of him. Because by turn 2, they can move on average 16 inches up. So they should be able to be within 3 inches of him to kind of give that support too. So then that's a threat. So I have some Death Shroud who have the Foul Blight spawn. So you don't want to charge them because there's the Fight Last aura. And then, I have a Foul Blight spawn and I have a Tallyman because the Tallyman is also an auto-taking Death Guard right now. At the start of every turn, yours and your opponents, you roll 2d6. If you roll over 7, you get a command point back.
It's 7 or more. So if you can roll 7, so yeah.
So on average,
he's awesome.
You should be getting 4 to 5 back into a game, which when I have Poxwalkers for 1 CP, I can be dishing out Mortal Wounds. I have Cloud of Flies, which is 4 CP now for Terminators, which is super high. But if I can regen 4 back through the course of the game, worth it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So like just really utilizing the Death Shroud to protect characters and trying to drop stuff in kind of smartly. Really where I struggle right now game-wise is secondary choices. And I hope anyway, that's something that a lot of people struggle with because it's so key and kind of it loses or wins games.
Absolutely. Good secondary choices is incredibly important.
Right. So that's kind of like what I'm looking for these games is to just get way better at secondary choices and way more comfortable at secondary choices. Danny, you will be pegging me with 3 different Satans, I believe.
Yeah, we'll see. So I made this weird list, and it's one that we've kind of been talking a little bit on some of the Necron groups that I've been chatting with. And so it's a patrol, an outrider, and an auxiliary support detachment. So in the patrol, I've got a Chronomancer who's my warlord. I've got a Plasmancer. I've got a unit of 5 Immortals. I've got a unit of 2 Crypto Thralls and a Transcendent Satan. And he has the Cosmic Tyrant ability. I'm not going to randomly roll 2. And then the outrider detachment is a Psychomancer with the Add a Vindicator. Oh, sorry. And the Plasmancer has the Quantum Orb, which is like the... I'm trying to remember what it's like an orbital bombardment that he gets.
Oh, nice.
Which is pretty cool. Yeah. Anyway, so I've got the Psychomancer who has the Add a Vindicator, which is the smite, a targeted smite that you have to roll 3d6 and roll equal to or over your opponent's leadership. I've also got 2 Crypto Thralls, another Transcendent Satan, 3 units of 9 Scarabs, 5 Wraiths, and I have 2 Lockhurst Heavy Destroyers. I'm not sure about those guys. I might change those out for something else. We'll see how that goes. And then finally, my last auxiliary support is a 3rd Transcendent Satan. So the plan is to hide behind a wall of Scarabs.
The plan is to hide.
And blast the shit out of you with Satan powers and mortal wounds from the Plasmancers, as well as the Plasmancer and the Psychomancer and the Satan. So we'll see how all that goes. I've got like 45 points left in my list, and I'm not sure what to spend it on. I may drop like a Scarab Swarm or just 2
big dick
and add another Plasmancer. Sure, yeah, just big ticket, not spend it.
Yeah, I beat you with 1955.
So I'm probably going to go with custom dynasty rules because I don't think any of them are going to benefit me a ton. So I'm probably going to be taking objective, relentlessly expansionist, and I don't know. It'll be objective secured in a 6-inch move before the game starts, just to try and get myself a little bit better board position.
And so, like, your Satan, I can only do 3 wounds at phase 2, right?
Correct.
Right. So
and they have 9 wounds and a 4+ invulnerable save.
So it almost makes me, for like my list here, not want to drop my Sorcerer in Deep Strike, because I need him on the table right away to do some mortals or smite in the movement phase, or try and do some damage to you in order to kind of get you off the table.
And that's the trick, right? And the whole trick that my list has is like using the Scarabs to try and take objectives, and then trying to just blast mortal wounds through your army with the Satan. And like hide behind the Scarabs, so at least the smites and stuff will hit the Scarabs first, and that's 36 wounds of like, you're not going to smite my
right. I'm for sure
going to. The Satans still have good punching.
Sure,
like, they're decent at punching. They have 5 strength 6 attacks each with like -3 or 4 AP and D6 damage. So they can still hit even when you get close.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. Again, I think, I'm going to have to spend a lot of time tomorrow reading my secondary choices to make sure I pick right, because holy cow, That is the deciding factor. Well, Danny, I'm excited for a game, but I think I'm more excited for the fact that once we come back from the most hated commercial we've ever played, we're going to return to an old friend and
okay.
add to our worst characters in 40K.
Oh, yeah.
But first, you guys have to put up with this.
Earl Hagen was a legend. In 1960, he whistled his way into Hollywood and into our hearts. Decades later, he made a comeback, lending those lustrous lips in the 1980s to such bands as the Scorpions, Guns N' Roses, and Pat Benatar. A half-century after his humble beginnings, he's at it again. This time without cumbersome musical accompaniment, he'll have you wetting your whistle and whistling along. His new album, Earl Whistles Disney, is sure to be a hit with all generations. Order now and receive a bonus album, Earl Whistles More Shit, a collection of previously unreleased material of Earl's favorite songs through the years. On this bonus album, he demonstrates his newly mastered technique of inward whistling. Order yours today on compact disc or double-length cassette. Also available at fine retailers such as Walgreens, CVS, and participating Sam Goody stores. Earl Whistles Disney. Buy it today.
I think the greatest thing now that and we're working towards Danny and I being able to record video again through this is seeing both of us over camera over the internet whistling along to the exact things.
It's the best
because we've listened to this ad so many times, but we love it so. But Danny, it's back.
We're back.
The worst character in Warhammer 40,000 ever. Oh man, I missed that sound effect. Much requested, often denied.
Often.
Often. I take great pleasure in it. We're back to talk about some of the worst characters in Warhammer 40,000.
Absolutely.
Previous worsts, we've had the Avatar of Cain, the Whipping Boy of Space Marines. We've had the Swarm Lord, the Whipping Boy of Space Marines. A lot of dick measuring characters for Space Marines pretty much has been what it takes to get up there. However, our top three, always Space Marines. We have, so many. Tibius, our lawnmower man. Chapter Surf, who...
He's not even really a Space Marine. He's the fucking worst.
He got turned down. He is currently the worst. We have...
Kaldor
Drago. We also have...
Is he worse than Sicarius?
No, I think
I'm stealing your thunder here.
Sicarius was second. He is the most controversial one because we did that video 9 months ago. We still to this day get comments saying that he's not that bad, or people pretending to be Cato Sicarius, which I think is 2020's new worst thing ever, overtaking Orc voice.
Yeah, it's like the modern orc voice. That's what that is.
Yeah, it's not clever. It's not good. Why would you do that? By the way, we just got a comment while we were recording here on our YouTube video for our last episode where we interviewed Peter the Falcon, and someone said, "Play on Tabletop sent me." So I replied with, "Those bastards," which is the best way we can respond to our listeners or people who come to us. So this time, we've done a lot of Imperium characters recently. We
haven't done a lot of chaos characters.
We haven't done a lot of chaos. We've done Scarbrand. He is a whooping boy for Space Marine characters. I'm seeing kind of a trend going along here. If you are a giant monster character, you're going to get beat up by a Space Marine captain to show you how.
But also just by Khorne.
How big his nub is. And by Khorne too. He flew for 8 days through a timeless abyss. But today, we have the pleasure of presenting to you one of the Emperor's children, Lucius the Eternal. You might recognize him from his 20-year-old model standing sideways holding a stick. Like holding
No,
up?
it's a whip.
Oh,
It's a whip.
it just looks like he's
'Cause
holding
it's like a fleshy whip.
stick. It's a fleshy whip, so it's a dong. He has a giant dong that he whips
Sure.
over. He is known as
whippy penis.
the Soul Thief, Fulgrim's champion, the Scion of Chemos, someone who consistently dies over and over and over again.
He's like, man, I'm such a good swordsman. What's your special ability, special swordsman? Oh, when somebody kills me, I become them. How often does that happen? I don't know. Probably a lot of times.
Whenever we need to find out how tough a Space Marine character is. So Lucius,
Well, it doesn't matter if you kill him, John. He just becomes you anyway. He's like a giant fucking Mary Sue. You can't do anything with him. It's probably got to be the most boring character to write about.
he has he's like space herpes. He always comes back.
Right.
But
you know what that whip is? The whip gives you like Lucius. That's what it's called.
Lucius
Lucius
number one
Simplex.
STD
That's what you get.
In the 41st millennium. What is quote unquote interesting about Lucius is he started off
nothing
on
I'm just kidding.
on Istvan 3 when they very subtly went, hey, all you guys who think differently from us, for no reason whatsoever, we're going to deploy you all to the planet at the same time. Lucius,
Wait. Before this,
yeah, before
Loken sucker punches him in the face. He's supposed to be some kind of great duelist, right? And he's like, okay, yeah, let's have a fight. And then he just punches him. He punches him right in the face. He's like, I thought we were dueling. He's like, we did, and I beat you. Like, get bent, kid.
Well, it's not Lucius's fault that he was a dick who didn't follow the rules of single combat. But that did lead to him betraying his friend. So he was sent out with the nerds, and they were like, yeah, just go hang out on this fucking planet. Sure, whatever.
They're like, you can't even win a duel. You're down on the planet. Like, we're done with you.
But then he was like, hey, if I get this guy for you, can I be in the cool kids club? And then he betrays like a bunch of people, and like Fulgrim is kind of like, well, man, this guy who got sucker punched during a duel and then turned on his friends as soon as it was beneficial for him. He's the kind of guy I want in this Legion. Yeah, for sure.
That's a kind of trustworthy, brotherly kind of like camaraderie that I want to see in my new army.
So after,
even though you're ugly, dude, because you started cutting your face and shit whenever you fight.
So after Istvan 3, where he turns on people for his own benefit, like a Rob Schneider in space, he gets made to be the leader of Fulgrim's personal bodyguard, because I know when I want protection from people, I want someone who's easily sucker punched in a duel. And then he like quickly starts following QAnon. He believes that Fulgrim is not Fulgrim, but he's actually a demon possessed by like pretending to be Fulgrim. He believes that many others in the Legion are like that too, including all your favorite name characters. Fabius Bile. He's not really Fabius Bile. He's a demon. I mean, this is real. Did QAnon start with random 40k fluff that people made up to make characters seem more exciting than they are?
I don't know, John. I don't have a good answer for that.
That's fair.
I hadn't read his backstory from when he was a kid. It's like a mirror image of Cato Sicarius. It's just a bunch of fucking bullshit.
So yeah,
like,
this is like
it was
the Chaos Sato Sicarius.
Right. Yeah, he's Sato Sicarius.
So, like, when Fulgrim's searching for, like, demonhood and to ascend into his final form and all that other kind of fun stuff, they go to this Eldar Crone world. On that Crone world, Fulgrim's, like, just dunking on a bunch of Wraith and being like, yeah, I'm really cool.
Yep.
Fulgrim pretty much, or Lucius pretty much gets dunked by a Raven Guard dude. Again, the greatest duel master.
Sharokin, right?
Yeah. Sharokin just kind of cuts him on the cheek once. And he's like, fuck, you made me bleed my own blood. And then he goes on to just absolutely destroys him, murders him, just pushes him to the ground. And this is like the first time he almost dies. Fabius Bile picks him up and fixes him. And everyone's like, whoa, how did you save that guy? And Fabius Bile, I mean, God knows what he does here. But after that, so after he gets murdered during a duel, he sets out to find a worthy challenger. Not seeing the fact that he just got murdered in a duel, and that guy is probably a worthy challenger. Like, I know, Danny, when you beat me at a game of 40K, the first thing I do, I'm like, I'm going to seek out John Lennon and get a worthy opponent. That just seems
Let's make it even harder.
Yeah, that seems counterproductive to what I want to do. So he goes and he like enters like Emperor's Children competitions until he actually just gets killed. And he gets just
in the dueling pits.
He gets killed in the dueling pits, which, you know, that's not cool. And then in doing so, Slaanesh was like, that's not okay. I like that guy. He had spunk. He had spirit. Like, let's have him come back.
He's got like 2 million Facebook followers. We need him to live. Like, Slaanesh being one of them.
Yeah. So it was actually Lord Commander Cyrus or Sirius, because everyone has different weird I's and U's in their names. Apparently, Slaanesh felt so much pleasure at the death of Lucius. Even Slaanesh doesn't like him. He just came so hard when he died. He was just like, I got to experience that again. And so we get the crux of Lucius's character, that he can die. Well, he can, but it's a real specific set of circumstances. So Lucius the Eternal is called that because whenever someone kills him, if they take any sense of pride in the kill at all, they will turn into Lucius. Which, I mean, it's kind of like the portrait
Boring.
of Dorian Gray style, I guess, where you're like,
I mean, yeah,
there.
I assume that's kind of what it's like. I don't know. He's just.
And then
I mean, okay, so this is also a guy, right? This is a guy who's leader of Fulgrim's bodyguards, right? Convinces the other members of the Order of the Phoenix that Fulgrim is not himself. So the leader of his bodyguards is like, let's rebel against Fulgrim. And so Fulgrim like keeps him on.
Well, so he goes into the concert
what kind of
hall.
Decision-making process is this?
He goes into the concert hall where they have like the blood orgy. He sees a painting of Fulgrim lying on the ground. He's like, man, the eyes in that painting, that ain't right. Our Fulgrim's a fake Fulgrim. Like, if you've been following U.S. politics, this is real close to what's happening here. So, yeah, he convinces the entire senior staff of the Emperor's Children to turn on their leader, pin him down, and try and exorcise a demon that doesn't exist. And then halfway through, Lucius is like, oh, fuck, this is just Fulgrim. Oh, no. Oh, no. And then he kneels and bows fealty.
Made a mistake.
Yeah. And Fulgrim was just like, it was a part of my plan all along. Good job. And I'm like, huh, that's some real weird decision making as a leader for the Emperor's Children there. So we've talked about how when he dies, the person's like, huh, I killed that guy. And that guy instantly, he turns into Lucius. Lucius like bursts out like a butterfly from a chrysalis. And the face of the person he's murdered kind of goes onto his artificer armor, forever screaming, forever being awful. You would think that was limited to just flesh-based beings. No, he has done that to a Necron before.
Yeah, why? Whose idea was that?
So yeah, he died from a phasing sword, and then Necrons, being just arrogant as I guess a passive racial trait, instantly, apparently like the liquid metal melted off of them and turned into Lucius. Which, if you're like that Overlord, you're real confused as to what the fuck is happening to you. And you have to. Does that give you Necron style phase out abilities?
I mean, well, first of all, Necron doesn't have a soul. So it's not like you could trap his intellect, I guess. Maybe he just died. I don't know.
Maybe, but they do say that there are thousands of screaming faces on his armor, which tells me he has died literally thousands of times. The other thing, he's a little emo kid.
Every time he kills somebody, he gives himself a scar.
Yeah, because no one is good enough to cut him, even though he's died all the time. So he cuts he cuts his face or his arm or whatever it is, like some weird Hot Topic reject. So he can feel the pain. That's the only way he can enjoy a victory or like know he's being tested is because he cuts himself. Like, I mean,
just constantly listens to Trent Reznor. Like,
he's a big Atticus fan. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, his face is massively scarred from self-cutting. His body is massively scarred from self-cutting. He caused maybe the coolest Emperor's Children character, Eidolon, to die because he basically told Fulgrim on him, and Fulgrim cut his... Like, Fulgrim ordered him to do something like, nah, man, I'm going to go here and do this thing. Eidolon goes to Fulgrim and goes, yo, he did this. And Fulgrim's like, you asshole, and kills Eidolon. The single coolest character series model in Forge World.
Well, you know that Eidolon's back, right?
Oh, I did not. Spoiler alert. Wonderful.
Sorry. You should definitely read the Fabius Bio books.
As those are far superior.
Agreed. So keep in mind, Lucius is not in those books, so you don't have to worry about that, guys.
Thank God. So what feels pride? Does a Tyranid feel pride? So if, like, say a bunch of Gaunts.
I don't know.
Like 30 Gaunts with, like, Devourers just team up and shoot the shit out of him. Does he just die at that point because they're a single hive mind? And the hive mind's not going to be like, yes, I killed this one guy.
Well, I don't know. Maybe the hive mind feels pride, like kind of like the pride of a hunter, I guess.
Or proud
Do
to
all the
have
Termagants turn into Lucius?
Maybe. Well, what about a psychic blank? Would they feel pride?
Probably.
Damn.
I mean, they feel emotions. They're just nobody likes them.
Dude, it's ironclad, this fucking story thing. Like, there's literally no one that can kill him. Because the Chaos Gods are literally emotion, so that takes the Pantheon out. Space Marines would take pride in a job well done. Orcs would take pride in a tough battle won.
I think if, like, you maybe unmade his soul.
Yeah, but that's like
he couldn't possess you.
That's like Emperor coming back levels. And if he can possess,
well, like Guilliman could probably do it. Like, he just kill him with the Emperor's sword.
Oh yeah,
and that would be it.
So yeah, there's ways.
Game over.
We can get this guy out of the universe, and that's the most important thing, as fast as possible. Though I will say, if they give him a new model, I'll totally change my mind. In game terms, he's a really cheap Chaos Lord with Marcus Lanash, cheap source of rerolls. And he's not that terrible in combat, on the table, just really in life. I wish there was some rule on the table where if you failed like a leadership test, or like if you rolled like a natural 6 when you died, then your opponent like died and turned into you. Like that.
He used to get wounds back when he killed people, I think.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know, and I don't know how much you know about his war gear, but the Lash of Torment,
the penis whip.
Yeah, the whippy dick. It just makes you like feel a lot of pleasure when he whips you. So like it feels really good. I imagine it feels good to Lucius too.
That's really weird. Could you imagine being attacked by this like 7 foot tall genetically engineered monster, and he's whipping you, and all you hear from the Vox channel is
yeah. Oh. Anyway, so
I'm sorry for the last 10 seconds.
Sorry, Paul Winter possessed me for a moment there, and I was overcome. All right, so we also, did you know his sword is the blade of the lair?
Yeah, so his sword is like a shard of the demon sword that Fulgrim like had, and it was like a personal gift from Fulgrim, which is insane.
Fucking stupid. It's not even. It's just a regular power sword.
Let's give it to my worst fucking Lord Commander. Like, not even the good ones. He has the special armor.
God, garbage. I hate him.
He was suggested by one of our listeners. So thank you for making me read through so much trash about this guy.
His head looks like a ball sack.
Well, he used to be beautiful, and now he just looks like a scrotum.
Yep.
He has his special relic blade that was a shard of a Primarch's weapon that is +1 strength, -1 AP, as is tradition in the greatest weapon.
So powerful.
So powerful. He has a bunch of drugs. He has a Comrade Stimrack, so he is just on meth. I imagine he's like the Bozo the Clown dude from Metalocalypse. Really fucking annoying.
Oh, Roxo?
Yeah, Roxo.
Dr. Roxo?
Yeah, Dr. Roxo.
Yeah.
He's really annoying, really hyper all the time, and he just needs to die, but he can't.
Everyone's just like, shut up.
Shut up. And can you imagine being in his warband? It would be awful.
Yeah. All right. So full disclosure, I did read, he has had one book that they've released about him.
He has
that was like
an entire book.
Yeah. It's actually not a terrible book. Because he doesn't actually die, surprisingly, over the course of the whole thing.
I would only accept it if he died once,
or maybe he does once,
like at
the very beginning.
At the end of the chapter, he dies, and the second chapter is the new person's life starting off. Could you imagine how confusing that is for Lucius? Because it doesn't happen right away; it happens over time. Like they describe the process, where like the guy starts losing his hair, and then the scars start showing, and then all of a sudden it comes through. Could you imagine Lucius? 1 minute you're in an Elder Crone world and you get stabbed in the head, and then the next thing you know, it's 4 months later and you're on some spaceship in God knows where, in the middle of like a Space Marine Legion or a Space Marine chapter. Can you imagine waking up in the Dark Angel ship and just being Lucius by yourself? You're like, fuck, he's gonna die so many goddamn times. And you have the Raven Wing, they're like, stop taking pride in the goddamn kill. Jesus.
I think he can be like, maybe if you gun him down, I don't know, maybe you have to hit him with your sword.
Would a Vindicator assassin with a long shot taking him out? No, he'd probably feel pride in that. Damn.
Yeah, probably.
This is like
that's his whole job.
This is like an iron tight storyline. There's like no way we can disprove that no one would feel pride. I think the best we got is like 30 Devil Guns could take him down. Because they are emotionless.
I like that idea. Or brainless things like Necron warriors or scarabs, if scarabs killed him.
So now I just want to kind of do like a video of like different things attacking Lucius on the table. It'd be like, how many like Necron warriors would it take to like take Lucius down? How many
Not that many.
No, it wouldn't really. He's a regular Chaos Lord. He has a 4-up invulnerable if you roll hot enough. But yeah, he is pretty high for me, I gotta say. Mainly for the Hot Topic scarification. The fact that his gimmick is that every couple years he wakes up confused in an enemy ship. Because like that's the thing, right? Because like I just thought about that. If he gets killed by like an Ultramarine captain, that Ultramarine captain, he's not going to like quarantine for like 2 to 4 months until Lucius shows up. And then what do you do with him? Does the layer sword?
Do you think people? I mean, they don't know that that's going to happen.
No. Does the layer sword and the dick whip just kind of grow out of the person too?
Probably. It's probably some gross Slanesh thing.
Yeah. So
he may pull it out of his prison pocket.
His prison pocket, absolutely. Man, so many of our Discord references coming through tonight. I love it. Where would you play? Okay, so he's not as bad as Thaddeus at all.
No.
No one will ever be as bad as Thaddeus. I do think he's worse than Kato, and I do think he's worse than Calder.
Oh, no. Okay, hold on a minute.
Okay.
He is not worse than Cato Sicarius. Not in a million years.
Okay, we go by the rules of chaos, where they're just worse Space Marines. Then he is just a worse Cato Sicarius.
No, I'm not agreeing to that. I can't agree. You know what? Why don't we let the fans decide?
Okay, fair. Because I got to tell you, from moderating our YouTube comments for the past 6 months, there's a lot of Cato Sicarius fans out there. I don't think there's as many people who think Hot Topic Penis Whip is quite as good as a random dude.
God, he's such a garbage character. I don't even think he's worse than Drago. But that's because I have a special hatred in my heart for Drago.
Sorry, next time
much
we're
like
going to
Mortarion.
Next time we're gonna do Eldrad. It's fine.
You better fucking not.
So we're doing Eldrad. He's like, nope. So okay,
I quit. Here's my 2 weeks.
Okay, so let's a compromise. So we'll have Thaddeus first, Lawnmower Man himself. Then Kato Sicarius. Then Lucius the Eternal. Then Kaldor Drago.
Okay, I'll agree to that.
And then whoever the fuck is fifth at this point.
It's either Anva, the Space Pope.
Oh, I think it's Space Pope. Yeah, because he's really bad. It's
I don't remember which of those it was.
It's some shitty Tau character. I think it's Space Pope because he's just a hologram.
I think it's Space Pope. Yeah.
And we made some 2-pack jokes that really resonated with me. I thought it was great. Oh man.
Oh, he's not even real.
It's good to get back to that. The worst character in Warhammer 40,000 ever. Man, keep sending your suggestions in, and right now we're just gonna run stuff out. We've super enjoyed doing the interviews that we've done, and what's even more surprising is you guys have enjoyed it too, and we've had people reach out who want to talk to us. We have kind of like a dream list of people we want to talk to. There's also other people who reached out to us. Hey Val, who we'll also talk to.
Yeah, Val, that was a crack for forgetting my name when thanking the people that helped out with the Nopen this last weekend.
You're welcome. I did nothing. So I think our plan going forward here is to kind of do 2 to 3 interviews, and then afterwards we're just going to do one of these style episodes where we'll do like a monthly roundup and just kind of chill and chat and do all kinds of fun things. Thanks everyone for your feedback. We've had a lot of great positive feedback for our interviews. If you have people you want us to talk to, if you have questions you want us to ask people, we will absolutely ask them. And again, we'll have a lot of fun doing so. Danny, what have you got?
Let's see. Oh, before we head out.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to talk about, we had some stream games in Juneau, Alaska.
We did.
Oh, yeah. Crazy cool. Yeah. Which is interesting because like, we don't like, we're kind of siloed from some of the other communities in Alaska. Like, obviously you can only get to Juneau by flying there or taking a boat. So it's not like the easiest way to get anywhere.
No, absolutely not.
So like seeing some people doing some stuff, we started like an Alaskan Discord channel, which is pretty cool. There's Taku Tabletop is the name of the channel. That's TAKU Tabletop. And they play games on there. They do streaming battle reports. They've got some other battle reports on there. So definitely like check those guys out if you have a second. Pretty cool to see somebody else doing something in 40K like that's not in the Anchorage, Matsu area or in Fairbanks.
For sure. We'll definitely reach out to those guys and say hi and see what they're up to. Check out all the other things. So a lot of stuff getting canceled still for COVID, but be sure to check out the streams that went on for the Nopen, the fairy tale story of JT's Dark Elder list.
I know, right?
Almost made it all the way to the finals.
It did make it to the final. It was in the final game.
The winner, I should say. Sorry, if it wasn't.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
a certain someone's inability to both respect lines and Dark Eldar. Not mentioning names, of course. Yeah, that's pretty good. But it was a super interesting format that Falcon and Val put together of having some of the best players in the world create lists and just having other people play them. And I think it really went to show player skill and kind of knowing your army and the importance of knowing your army. Because I think one of the reasons the Dark Eldar list did so well is because the people playing the army knew it. And the people playing their opponent's army didn't know the army they were playing really well. Dark Eldar beat Bash Bros. Mortarion Magnus gone.
Had a really good sisters list.
Really good sisters list, but not maybe great sisters and chaos pilots.
Sure.
Which isn't saying that these people are bad players at all. These are
no,
phenomenal players. But it really kind of goes to show the importance of getting reps in, and really how net listing maybe isn't the best idea.
And it sounds like they've done some good. They've had some good ideas where for next year they may try and break it up between 2 weekends or something like that. We'll see what happens. I don't know what the plan is there exactly, but like just kind of maybe making sure that people have a second to get a handle on the army before they have to take it out on the battlefield.
Well, they talked about maybe having the creators of the lists in the ears of the players during the game, which I think would be
okay, that'd be cool.
Which would be a really cool thing, because it would remind me of like it would be a 40K version of Ratatouille, and I'm down for that.
And we all know how much John likes Ratatouille.
I do really enjoy Ratatouille. It's an underrated movie about a disgusting thing inside a kitchen. So yeah, Nopen was amazing. Check out their streams. Hammer Out Cancer. Their stream should be going up on YouTube any day now. Danny is in a lot of them. I am in some of them. There's some great moments in there that we provide. There's some awful quiet moments in there I provide when I have to be like, Danny, please help me. But a lot of great games going on that weekend too, including Toe Stubber, rest in peace. The best this Lehman Russ there could ever be. We had one of our local guys, Rob, post a picture of a Lictor and a Broodlord, and I'm like, man, those guys are going to die in close combat with a Lehman Russ. This is all I know from watching competitive 40K.
You gotta watch that thing, man.
You gotta watch those guys. Yeah, those close combat characters, they're going to die to a fucking tank. But yeah, a lot of great games played there. Frontline Gaming, they released a kind of a bundle deal package. I jump on that. 3 majors for $220.
Oh, that's cool.
And they are redeemable at BAO, Bay Area Open, SoCal, LVO, all kinds of places, really just trying to build up that business. And other big news we can talk about, Danny, LVO is moving. It is no longer going to be at Bally's Casino.
Yeah, they're going to do it at the
Rio.
Oh, the Rio, right?
And let me tell you, as soon as we know those weekend dates, Danny, how much cheaper the Rio is for hotel rooms. Especially in
I'm excited about that. It's a bigger space, I guess.
Yep.
Which is great. They're also going to be doing a Las Vegas team tournament,
which is super exciting.
All ATC. Yeah, which is going to be super cool. So I think I have a team together for that, which I'm excited about in September. Assuming that fires.
How many teams have you been asked to be on at this point?
Just a couple.
How do you decide who gets the services of Danny? Who
I murk myself out to?
Who you murk yourself out to? Yeah, as the fourth.
The first person that asked me, I said yes, and I don't want to move teams.
Oh man, social awkwardness for the win. Love it. Social politeness, I guess I should say. So, what's like cool things happening in the world of 40K? As we move past no cure COVID to no hospitalization COVID, which I think is our next phase.
Yeah, no kidding.
We start to open everything back up. I'm really excited for this year to see where 40K goes, what happens, all the weird... You know what I'm more excited for than anything, which I know we did this whole thing and I made a sound effect for drama. I'm excited for the drama to go away for the slightest goddamn thing.
Yeah.
Like... Remember like when water cup bumping was like a 2-day joke on the internet? And now things like that are like month-long fucking assassination pieces.
They're actually the worst people on the planet.
Yeah, exactly. They're monsters. I'm ready for that kind of drama to be gone. And I'm ready just to see some great lists come out. I think the main issue has been like we're seeing 1 or 2 archetype lists for each book coming out because people are just kind of like checking out Art of War, or they're checking out like Play on Tabletop or other streams like that and just seeing what they're playing.
And they're so siloed, right?
Right. So I'm excited to see kind of an increase in different lists played and different games played. I'm excited for Phil to come back as well. Glacier Geek's gone on a small hiatus.
Yeah, same.
So I'm excited for everyone to be able to come back in a safe way. What else we got?
Me too. I think that's it for me. Oh yeah, check Play on Tabletop. Check out that channel out if you haven't had a chance. Those battle reports are fucking fire.
They're amazing. We were supposed to do some stuff with them in spring. Obviously, Canada being sensible won't let us at the moment. But as soon as we are legally,
won't let us come into their country.
Yeah, as soon as we're legally allowed to, we're going to be excited to do stuff with those guys. They produce some of the best looking battle reports you're going to see.
Oh my god,
their production
quality is so incredibly
amazing. JT is, of course, a graduate of Danny McDivitt's coaching services, where
as he tells everyone that will hear,
he tells everyone that will hear that he is a graduate of that program. So he's okay. He's a solid 4-2 player, for sure. Oh man, I don't think I have anything else.
No, I think that's it from me, man.
That's it from me. We might be back in a little bit with like a rip off of the 40K Jason show, because after Falcon mentioned it, the idea of just sitting like bullshitting about random things seems enjoyable.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But if we don't, then I guess we'll be back in 2 weeks. So let's see if we can do this time, Danny, because last time we didn't do great, and I don't edit, so we didn't do everything. But we'll see you in 2 weeks for Mob Rules. I've been John.
I've been Danny.
And we'll see you next time.
Kill yourself.